Well, hello there and welcome to the bedroom of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers for January 4th, the day of the Formulators. Here at the top of the page is a visual representational image of the day of the Formulators. Well, we have us an image of what could it be? Well, I couldn't quite savvy when I first looked at it, but boom, it's like a three-dimensional cross of a cluster or troop of mushrooms. And I say that because those in the foreground are a little bit bolder than those which are faint in the back. It took me a minute to notice as much. That having been said, is that an adequate representation of the day of the Formulators? Hey, who's to say? But not altogether all too important. We might find some connotations for why they chose that as we get on with the read. But having said that, what is important around these here parts is it's January 4th, and hence it's somebody's birthday. So wishing you a happy birthday. That's what's important. So happy birthday. But if you're finding this video late, I don't know, days, weeks, months, as may often be the case, I hope you had a happy birthday. But for all those random folks or those who want to celebrate the January 4th birthday who are stopping by, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive into the redirect, something I like to do around these here parts, and that's roll some dice. That's right. This is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake, but I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. And here I rolled a 5 and a 3 for an 8. Now, what is synchronicity? You're probably wondering. Well, too often in life, folks, we're kind of just going through the everyday goings-ons with the blinders on. That's right. We're not necessarily noticing the things that the universe might be putting in our path, because I hear it told that the universe or the higher powers that be will put things in our path to help us realize our goals or our aspirations. And so this is an exercise in getting those blinders off, identifying the things that the universe puts down for us to notice with the specific sign that we can't help mistake. That's right, your 5 and your 3, 4 and 8. Something to look for, to come upon. That having been said, you don't have to go with the numbers that I rolled for you, but it is advisable that you might take a set of dice with you so you can ascribe directional values to number sets and time limits with which to follow those directional values. But once you've got all that figured out, your numbers, you pick a spot to start from to kind of explore the area around you for the day, I suppose, or a couple hours, whatever the case may be. And you set off with your direction value time limit. But when you're doing that, make sure you get those blinders off. Start soaking things up like a sponge. You never know, the day might start to take on a theme. You might start noticing things lining up, repeating if you like. I call these synchronicities, but you might call them coincidences, whatever the case may be. Let's start stacking some things up, all right? See how many coincidences we can have come into our area, our proximity there. So you head off in your first directional value time limit. Maybe you're not seeing anything. It just seems like the normal city, right? Well, once you reach the end of that time limit, stop, compose yourself, look around, stay eagle-eyed. Hey, maybe you just happen to notice you're on old 8th Avenue. Old 8th Avenue and Broad Street, perhaps. Or maybe 8th Avenue and Mushroom. You never know. Hey, you know what? Let's go with the visual representational image. You're like, hey, that's interesting. That was in the book. Oh, okay. There's a mushroom. I would say take those as signs that you're on the right path, all right? But even if that's not the case, you just reach the end of your directional value time limit. Roll your dice again. So here we go. Don't get dissuaded. You're out here to drum up some magic. Maybe things have been going on around you. You just haven't noticed them. That might be the case. Or maybe the universe just doesn't have an opportunity to show you something that blatant. Maybe you're on the right path, but you just haven't seen the blatant signs yet. That might be the case. Who's to say? And even you roll your directional value again, your time limit, you head off, and I don't know, maybe at the end of this one, you find yourself in an alley. You roll or in front of an alley on the sidewalk there. You roll the dice, and maybe it's telling you to go down that alley. You know what? If it's the middle of the day, it doesn't seem too sketch. You know what? Go with your instincts here. Maybe go on down there, see what you see. Maybe you get down to the end of that thing. I don't know. Maybe you find some mushrooms. That could be the case. Or maybe you find yourself, there's just a single soul trash can with the lid off, and you look in there, and hey, who's to say? Maybe also there's a card down there in the bottom, and it's got a mushroom on it. One of those stylized psychedelic types. I would take this as a sign to say the universe is lining things up for you, trying to show you just it's there with you on your path. So maybe you're all having said and done all of that, you get back out of the alley there, Feels like a little bit of a waste of time, perhaps, but you know what? Coincidences are nice, I would say. Roll your direction value, time limit. You set off again. Maybe at this point you come to a crossroads and maybe the old, I don't know, number of 35 bus pulls up, right? Oh, I would take that as a sign also you're on the right path. And maybe to just get on that bus, especially if it stops right in front of you. And maybe it just so happens you happen to have perfect change in your pocket to do so. That's right. Hey, you know what? I would take that as a sign to ride the bus, see what happens. You get on there, maybe you just so happen to notice somebody is wearing a sports jersey and it's got a 53 on the back or an 8. You know what? Again, I would take that as a sign to say, hey, I'm on the right path. And maybe you ride that thing till they get off. That's right. You're using them as the thing to follow, if you like. Roll your dice for a time limit, see how long to follow them for. And, give them a little bit of a buffer. You don't want to be stalking anybody on this thing. But maybe this person picks up on you stalking them. Hey, you should have been stalking, all right? It's not advisable. That being said, if you run into a situation where people wonder what you're doing because he seems like you're acting a little squirrely, rolling dice and stuff, you know what? Just be open, forthright. Yeah, it's my birthday. I'm out here trying to line up some coincidences, some synchronicities. Show them this video. And they'd be like, that's crazy. And they say, why is that? Or outside of, I know it seems a little squirrely. They go, no, not the synchronicity thing. It's my birthday too. Oh, you never know. Something like that could line up for you. Stranger things have happened. And you know what? Maybe they were just out and about, strolling through on a nice day, and maybe they join you. That's right. And if that's the case, you know what? Maybe you just made yourself a new friend, someone who's in a specific peer group there, share the same birthday. Even if you don't, maybe they join you. And what's great about that is it's said that in cases where you meet up and you're focused on the same thing, especially something as unique as this, well, the universe is said to have more influence in manifesting greater results. So who's to say? Maybe you just start seeing more mushrooms. Maybe you guys head off to where he was going originally because you didn't follow that time limit through, if you remember. Maybe it was just going to a coffee shop and, hey, you needed a little bit of a pick-me-up, perhaps. No telling. But like I said, hey, get out there. Let the universe speak to you. Maybe you see, taste, touch, feel just a little bit of that magic, and you see why I suggested as much. So, in any event, I think you get the idea of synchronicity there. Let's get on with the read. Your month is January. Your day is the 4th. Your sign is 13 to 15 degrees Capricorn of the Capricorn II period specifically. And your quality and element is Cardinal Earth. All right, January 4th, the day of the Formulators. Those born on January 4 have a natural talent for solving all sorts of problems. Most often this gift is of a technical nature, and those born on this day specialize in examining a situation and summing up what was wrong with it in a terse, concise style. By being able to formulate what others find difficult to conceptualize, they put themselves in great demand. In January 4 people often have a practical knack for accomplishing tasks with a minimum of effort. But they also have the imaginative ideas which can be far-reaching as well. Their imagination is rarely of a highly fanciful variety, however, and generally has a solid basis in everyday reality. January 4 people may thus be of the fortunate few who dream up schemes that actually work. All right. And more highly evolved January 4 people follow through on their ideas, developing a sequential process from observation to formulation to implementation. That's right. And once this approach is mastered by them, it can be applied over and over again in the future. January 4 people are natural collectors of all sorts of things, not only physical objects, but facts and detailed information as well. They like to surround themselves with books, tools, materials, and other useful paraphernalia, so that they can have it within hand's reach when it's needed. And those born on this day are very direct and do not specialize in idle speculation. Conversation is something they enjoy in a social sense, but they must have a meaning or purpose if it is to hold their interest for very long. Generally, January 4 people are highly organized, and they can drive others crazy with their insistence on order, whether it be a demand for mental clarity or ordered arrangement of their physical surroundings. It seems that to understand almost anything, including human emotions, they must apprehend them within a certain formal framework, rather. And due to such an orientation, they may be at odds with those who prefer to take their cue from emotions or intuition. And this is particularly true in regard to love relationships. Similarly, though January 4 people can make excellent parents and providers, they can also arouse resentment from their children because of their dominance and control. And they must remember that there is no single correct way to live, and that if they let up a bit on their children and their mates, they will allow everyone concerned to be freer and more themselves. Because of their own highly characteristic mode of operating, January 4 people are usually recognized as individuals who have their own distinct style. And not only is there in their thought, but also in their dress and manner. And they are very much their very own person. And for this reason, it may be difficult for them to take orders for very long. And although they can be very good at working with a team or as a valued member of an organization, most born on this day ultimately will want to form their own business or company. As artists, craftspeople, or self-employed workers, they are motivated enough to be highly productive. All right, how about that for a very interesting breakdown? A little bit narrow of focus, but within that focus, they really expanded out in scope. Though I do say when they do these narrow focused breakdowns, sometimes they don't get into the family or the relationships, and they did that a bit here for you to round it out, expand that scope just a little bit. The past week or so, they haven't been doing that, so you get a little bit of a, a little bit of a focus there, if you like. Having said that, I like to provide a little bit of a commentary on what we just read, maybe make connections to past days, etc., and just get into what I found interesting about it. So let's dive in, shall we? January 4, the day of the Formulators. Your natural talent for solving problems, and you're purported to have an inherent ability to assess a situation, determine problems, formulate solutions in concise ways that others have difficulty wrapping their minds around, and you often do so without much effort, it sounds like. The reading also claims you have imaginative ideas that are well rooted in reality, which may in fact contribute to your ability to be so valuable in solving problems. To say it sounds as if you may very well have in hand your imagination itself as a problem that once properly solved and turned loose with a purpose becomes the very tool you use to function in the world. All right, and if that doesn't sound like your process at all, it may be of novel consideration. That's what I picked up on. Using your imagination itself as the tool once you know how to handle it, if you like. Having said that, the reading claims you're a collector of objects and ideas that allow you to function in an otherwise utilitarian way as benefits your specific process and avenue of endeavor. Practice also said to be so rooted in your life it even extends to the likes of conversation. All right, down to the minutiae. Very interesting. Everything a purpose, nothing wasted. That's right, utilitarianism. You may also prefer control and organization to such extremes that it not only extends to helping who you work with, but to understand the world around you and to the potential frustration of those in your orbit as well. All right, very interesting dynamic that by other specific standards might just be ironically considered a disorder. That's right. Okay. Which may also extend not just to the way that you dress, utilitarian or not, it doesn't say, but we can guess, but also in your chosen field of endeavor, the likes of which it claims you may be better off working for yourself on account of frustration with taking orders. At least that's the specific thing they mentioned. Which, as it turns out, is a little bit of a Capricorn through line. There's other folks born in this period. Not only are they just forthright and steadfast in their devotion to the job and to their work, they oftentimes don't like taking orders. They kind of have their own path to go down. So you're not alone in that particular avenue there. But a highly unique, very interesting day, I would say. And I like that whole thing that you use your imagination as a tool. That's right, because I don't think a lot of people necessarily do that. They use it, but that kind of where it ends there. So in any event, that's what I had to say about the birthday breakdown. So let's move on to your numbers and your planets. A little bit of astrology and numerology. All right, those born on the 4th day of the month are ruled by the number 4 and the planet Uranus, or Uranus, depending upon how you like to say it. Those ruled by the number 4 tend to be difficult and argumentative, and such traits are often magnified in the January 4 personality. Generally, number 4 people do not emphasize money matters, and indeed those born on January 4 are more concerned with ambition and power than with money, per se, it says here. Those influenced by the planet Uranus can be quick and explosive in their change of mood. Qualities fortunately grounded for January 4 people by the heavy influence of the planet Saturn, the ruler of the Capricorn sign. All right. They made this pretty personalized for you insofar as they really jumbled up how they worded things here. They didn't go with the boilerplate that they usually carry over day after day in a lot of cases. But they also kind of made it particular to you also in some circumstances here. But I might be getting ahead of myself. Let's dive back into the notes, see what I had to say about your numbers and your planets. Number 4 in Uranus for a difficult and argumentative nature and a concern for power and ambition over money. Oddly enough, the reading claims these traits are magnified for you for some reason. Ostensibly from your Saturn Capricorn rulership. Days ruled by Uranus are usually more concerned with ideas over money. But here again, probably owing to Saturn, where the need to exert authority is said to be a driver for that particular planet, at least elsewhere in the book. Power and ambition are mentioned for you specifically. So not to poo-poo that, as I don't know anything about astrology, but what I find far more interesting, if not applicable specifically to you, considering the breakdown here, was what wasn't mentioned about the planet Uranus here. That is, Uranus focuses on having a tendency toward a desire to change the rules and having their own way of doing and seeing things. All right, not that those don't apply to you because it wasn't mentioned here, but it is mentioned writ large throughout the rest of the book. And that's interesting. Here is this kind of an anomaly they didn't include that, because I thought that spoke to you perfectly. Again, not that that doesn't apply, just for whatever reason they didn't shoehorn that in there. Maybe they thought the other things were a little more pertinent for some reason. That having been said, give you a little bit more information there about that from other days in the book, carrying it forward. Let's move on to your tarot. That's right, one of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies. But hey, we don't have to take it home with us to start dealing out the cards to inspire our every whim and flight of fancy. So let's get into it, see what it has to say, and then leave it in the book. That's right. Your tarot. The 4th card of the major arcana is the Emperor, who rules over worldly things through wisdom, the primary source of his power. The Emperor is stable and wise, and the force of his authority cannot be questioned. The positive associations of this card are strong willpower and steadfast energy. And negative indications include stubbornness, tyranny, and even brutality. All right. This one here was a total copy-paste job. They just brought it forward for you. No personalization. Sometimes that's what the trade-off is if they personalize the numbers and planets. But what did I have to say? I think I add a little bit here for you. Outside of what I had to retread, so we provide some context. The Emperor for rule over the worldly matters through wisdom. For strong willpower, steadfast energy is positives, but negatives is stubbornness, tyranny, and brutality. All right, which I would say is a very apt card for you considering the breakdown. And your penchant for seeing the problems in things, perhaps even where problems don't necessarily exist, all right? And formulating solutions to improve those systems that you see the problems in. to say like things might work just fine, and here you are trying to solve things or find problems in it. But you know what? A lot of innovation comes from those kinds of things. So it's not the worst thing in the world. And those are important people to have here, all right? Or else you just still have the rotary phone, right? Instead of something you can use for the internet and such. Having said that, I don't know that I picked up on the negative aspects outside this mention of dominance and control towards the children, and a reminder that there is no single way to live, which may suggest you tell people how to live, all right, if that is the case. So beware of that tyranny is what it sounds like to me there. In any event, that's been your tarot. So let's move on to your health. All right, your health. Those born on January 4 must learn to be more patient with others. They can get very upset over breaches of order, and constant irritations can undermine their nervous system as well as cardiovascular health. It is important that January 4 people set up a regular exercise pattern, particularly if they have a sedentary profession. As far as diet is concerned, it is recommended that they adopt a fairly relaxed attitude and simply enjoy a highly varied diet with plenty of flair and exotic accents. Collecting all sorts of recipes, may be right up their alley. Vibrant and active romantic and or sexual activities, if you like, are also recommended. Therefore, those born on this day must try to allow impulse, instinct, and improvisation to play their part and enjoy such qualities in their partner. All right, very unique health entry today for you there. Let's dive into why I say that before I start talking out of turn here. All right. Be more patient with others. And interesting, it said irritation can upset your nerves. While I don't deny it, I think it's the first time so much has been said for someone. Though if it hasn't been, it's certainly a rarity. Irritation upsets your nerves there. And while I don't deny it, I think it's, like I said, okay, so, retread there. Regular exercise is advised, especially for seated occupations. And as far as diet is concerned, the Capricorn concern for livening up your cooking pops back up again. That's been a bit of a through line, only for the Capricorns here. It hasn't popped up in the rest of the book as far as I recall. And perhaps this owes to the suggestion that you do a little bit more improvising in life. Incorporate a little more spontaneity to shake things up, I would guess. The sex life aspect to that end is a rare entry for the period. I think it's popped up maybe one other time. Some other times in the book, nary a mention. We went months without mention of the sexual recommendation. So maybe take note and improvise a little bit there. Liven things up if you like. I don't think they mention it unless it's going to benefit you to some extent, or there is a specific reason. Never know. So any event, that's been your health. Let's move on to some advice. That's right. Not everything in life can be designated or formulated. Respect others even if they are on the wrong track. And be open to new ways of doing things, improve your own methods, and don't be afraid to improvise when necessary. In a word, loosen up. All right, that's been your advice. Let's see what I had to say here. I had to write it in the book because I ran out of space on the page in the notebook. All right, what they say. Not everything designated or formulated. All right, don't think all problems can be solved with your inventive mind, I would assume. You're bound to encounter some cognitive dissonance if that's the case, all right? Where you're like, this doesn't make sense, and in your mind is just trying to go over things that should make sense to you. Yeah, they're not going to because they don't, all right? At least if you're fighting reality in that way. All right, they also say respect others, even if on the wrong track. Okay, common advice for this period. Everybody's got a point of view, know how things work, but that's the thing. That's how they work for you, all right? And they have to learn things for themselves in a lot of cases, even if the lesson that they learn is to learn things from others. That's right. You got to let them figure it out. Don't be too explosive of mood in that case either, if you take offense to it a little bit, because you know you got the answers for them and they don't want to hear them. I can rub people the wrong way for sure. All right, what else do we have here? Be open to new things, which is ironic considering you bring the new things, I would say. But maybe it's more important even for you, the bringer of the new things. Who's to say you might be closed off in a certain way of thinking, even though you're very open in this other way. You might be closed down to think like, I'm the one that comes up with the new ideas, not these other folks. But maybe they bring something else to the table too. I don't know. I'm just pontificating, improvising if you like, keeping it loose. So once again, you're the bringer, so maybe it's even more important for you. Something to keep in mind. Hey, and it'll keep you humble too, being open. All right. Don't be afraid to improvise, they said. Aside from giving you an opportunity to lighten up, as they recommended, you never know what other ideas or solutions you may stumble upon. I think we kind of breezed over that a little bit. How did I segue into that without knowing? Any event, that's been your advice. They didn't provide too much there. Actually, it was like a sentence more than they usually provide. But within that, I think they provided a lot of value. So hopefully I was able to expand on that and say something that rang true for you, or something maybe you hadn't considered. But even if that's not the case, maybe we'll make up for it with your meditation. That's right. It's your birthday. You get a meditation to pontificate on, if you like. All right, here we go. The world of the unknown must always be respected. Okay, not quite sure what to make of that one. Not for you specifically, but hey, let's say once more here. The world of the unknown must always be respected. All right, hey, your birthday, your meditation, even if I had some kind of interpretation on it, I wouldn't give it to you, because you know what? Wouldn't do you any good if I was the one cooking things up for you. And of all people, you should know that. That's right. Okay, so in any event, that's been your meditation. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. You're a utilitarian individual. Let's hold up the objective mirror. Nothing wasted, right? Find out where you've got the bulk, your strengths, and where you're maybe otherwise atrophied. That's right. Your weaknesses. Your strengths, you're conceptual, you're structured, and you're pragmatic. All right. But your weaknesses, let's hold up that objective mirror, but spin it to the side that blows up your face. Maybe shows off the superficial things that you're a little bit insecure about. That's right. Your weaknesses. All right. You're dogmatic, you're closed, and you're intolerant. Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. Dogmatic. It's like things for you are your own kind of personal religion, all right? You don't let other things get in there. What else? Closed. Oh, hey, I just kind of mentioned closed, right? You don't let other things get in. And intolerance. Yeah, you don't accept change outside of the change that you bring. Isn't that right? Okay. I would argue that when it comes to strengths and weaknesses, a lot of times our strengths are going to help us get over those weaknesses, if we even need to. I also like to argue in a lot of cases our weaknesses are also strengths, just depending upon the situation and the person. Sometimes I see certain strengths and weaknesses trade back and forth. Impulsive, specifically, I remember, would go back and forth between a strength and a weakness. So you know what? Sometimes being closed to things, it might just be a strength for you, because maybe in this one particular field, it needs to be so precise. I don't know, who's to say. But I would argue if you do need to overcome those things or improve upon them, your strengths are going to get you through. You're conceptual, structured, and pragmatic. You're going to find the best path to get towards it, to find your way through, all right? But I also like to argue not to get rid of your weaknesses altogether. Why do I say that? Because they make us who we are. That's right. Okay, your strengths and weaknesses having been relayed, let's dive in with those born on this day. When we get into those born on this day, not only do we get to see who shares your company, but I like to approach this with an eye on figuring out our passions. That's right, seeing what these folks did in the book and maybe taking some inspiration to fuel our own creative fires. Because too often I get out in the world and meet individuals and I ask them what they like to do or what they do, and if they like it, and they don't. And I think you can't necessarily blame folks for that. They just haven't had the time to put in the work to figure those things out. Because I would argue that's exactly what it takes. And you get into some job that maybe had no particular root of fascination for you because right out of school you need to make ends meet. Whatever the case, maybe you just start climbing that corporate ladder. And you know what? Like I said, at the root of it, the fatal flaw is it wasn't something you had any interest in. But now it's easy. You're used to rolling out of bed, getting right into the job. It's all rote, day in, day out. But I think that doesn't necessarily help fulfill us in life. And that's what makes life worth living. So if maybe you don't have a passion, hey, you know what? Maybe we can take some inspiration from the folks born on this day. But if you already do, hey, you know what? Maybe it's just interesting to hear what lottery you drew. So let's dive into it with an eye on figuring out our passions. All right, we start off with Sir Isaac Newton. The British mathematician, physicist, and natural philosopher discovered gravity and formulated the 3 basic laws of physics. Jacob Grimm, a German philologist, dictionary creator, folklorist, and a co-writer of Grimm's fairy tales. That's right, with his brother Wilhelm. We also have Louis Braille, the French inventor of the reading system for the blind, and lost his own sight at the age of 3. We also have Isaac Pitman, a shorthand inventor, Don Shula, a football coach and second in all-time career wins, 4-time coach of the year, and he took 6 teams to Super Bowls. We also have Jean Dixon, a psychic and a newspaper columnist. We also have Floyd Patterson, the world heavyweight boxing champ, first to regain the heavyweight crown. We also have Yusef Suk, a Czech violinist, composer, and founder of the Bohemian String Quartet. We also have Grace Brumby, an opera singer, John McLaughlin, a guitarist and composer. We have Helmut John, J-A-H, and John, neo-modernist skyscraper architect. That's a first one there. You know what? Even neo-modernist part's new, but so is the skyscraper architect. We also have Carlos Saura, S-A-U-R-A, Saura, Spanish film director of Blood Wedding. We also have Giovanni Battista Pergolesi, an Italian Baroque composer, and died at the age 26. We also have Jane Wyman, a film actress, Marsden Hartley, a painter, Andre Masson, or M-A-S-S-O-N, French symbolist, surrealist painter, and illustrator, as well as a sculptor. We also have John A. McCone, a CIA director and Atomic Energy Commission head, as well as an industrialist. William E. Colby, CIA director and a lawyer. We've got 2 of them. I thought I was retreading it there. Nope, there's 2 of them. That's interesting. Frank West, a jazz tenor, a saxophonist, and a flutist. Archbishop Usher, U-S-S-H-E-R. I wanted to say Usher, but I don't think that's right. Irish-born 16th, 17th century British clergyman, and stated that prevailing Western view of the world's age is 5,000 years. Oh, he was a little closed, wasn't he now? Okay, arguably. Depends on what you believe there, I suppose. In any event, that's been those born on this day. Hey, we took a lot of interesting people who redefined systems of thought. A gentleman that created Braille, gentleman that created shorthand. Sir Isaac Newton created the laws of physics, or at least pontificated on them. I think Einstein kind of shook that up a little bit. But hey, things are always open to new things coming in, right? Don't be closed, like they said. But like I said, I know it's maybe I didn't say this yet. I know it's a big ask, tall order to try and take inspiration from other people's accomplishments. Certainly the ones that are as grand as some of the folks born in here. But hey, who's to say? Maybe you become the next CIA director. That's right. That path's been kind of trodden out for you. so don't be too closed to it. That having been said, like I said, I know it's a big-ass tall order, but hey, maybe just hearing these things with an eye on figuring out your passions can help you stir up the fires. Because at the very least, I can do for you, put the bug in your ear about as much, help you think about that. That's right, because there's nothing better than getting out of bed in the morning, eager to get on with the things you find fulfilling. That's right. So if I can wish for you anything on your birthday, it's that. All right. That having been said, that essentially rounds out your birthday read, except to say your season is winter, your sign once again is Capricorn of the Capricorn II period specifically, and your quality and element is Cardinal Earth. What does that mean? Well, that's a different video altogether, which I'll leave at the end there for you if you're interested in checking that out, finding out more. But this has been January 4th of the Day of the Formulators from the Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers. I have a link for this book down in the description if you're interested in diving in further. Save the hassle of typing it in a browser there. And why do I recommend the book? Because you know what? This thing makes a great icebreaker at parties. Let me tell you something. It's going to get the conversation started for better or for worse. Because people, who's to say, they might not agree with what's written in the book. And that's all right. You can tell them you do. Stir things up, even if you don't. I don't know if it said you were a liar in the book there. But I want to say, you got to have some fun at parties, right? I haven't been said. It makes a great coffee table book. Pull it down off the bookshelf. Just peruse. It's great. But you know what? Not altogether all too important, the book there. Not when it's someone's birthday. That's right. What's important around these here parts? Wishing you a happy birthday. So once again, happy birthday. And for everybody else who joined us, I hope you enjoyed yourself, took something from this, and you join us for your birthday read. That's right. But lest I forget, before I take us out complete, boom, your daily numbers. Your 3 and your 5 for an 8. Get out there, let the universe show you it's with you on your path. Stack up some coincidences, some synchronicity, and you'll see why I recommended it in the first place. But at the very least, hey, you know what? You're out there getting in your steps if you do so. So once again, get out there, see some magic, and happy birthday. All right, take care of yourselves. Don't stay closed. That's right, open on up. Take care.